This session continues the topic of drawing in perspective, and this time it is drawing with what we call freehand perspective. Now, the artist really starts and begins a process of studying and learning by establishing their understanding of the horizon line, the vanishing point, which is on either side of the paper, and also to know what it is to draw the guidelines from the top of the lines that are closest to you and all the way to the vanishing point. This represents a drawing of two-point perspective with a little simple house. And it began with a vertical and a horizontal discussion, actually, to decide what is the way in which the artist would like to do this drawing, with a vertical format or a horizontal format. Now, to do this, you have to understand something about the high eye level, the middle eye level, and the low eye level. In this case, the eye level is somewhat below center on the vertical and probably right just about on center line with the horizontal plan. I actually like the vertical idea with the mountain up here and the drawing of the trees and the wonderful little house and the cascading waterfall coming through. It's very nice on a vertical. Probably we'll do that sometime. But for the purpose of this lesson, we're going to use the horizontal. And the horizontal format has the line that has been placed just slightly below center, just about like this. And of course, the line that is closest to you, which is the closest little corner of this house, is the closest, largest vertical at this time. This is placed first. The artist has the option of establishing the side of the house on both sides to make the front face this way or this way. The artist, of course, can move trees and plan where the sun's going to be by being there at the right time of day. This is the light source. It will come through here, it will hit and cast shadows in this direction. So consistency is the most important item for the artist. This little plan shows and will show a waterfall coming through here, a river here, and of course the river will be going to the perspective line like this. All right? Now all of the lines, the vertical lines, are drawn this way, and they will go no higher than the line of the highest vertical. This presents the opportunity for the line to go across the top of the roof on this side. Now, this side doesn't go that way. This side drops this way. And the tip actually does go from here to here to establish this line of the roof, and it is parallel to the back of the roof. Over here, this line would reverse itself, but it is not the line that goes to the vanishing point. Now, we've used a few technical thoughts. The VP is the vanishing point. The horizon line is here. We've thought about the optic center, which is up here, and we want to possibly talk about that later on. But I really like to emphasize the fact that this is called freehand perspective. And to do that, what I want to do is start brand new on a fresh piece of paper. And I'd like to do it a little bit larger. And this drawing is going to be a drawing that will show exactly what we have just been through. It will see that we're going to use the horizontal after deciding the horizontal is better for this particular rendering than the vertical. So we're going to do the horizontal format this way. And we've got a large piece of paper that is going to work for us. It's also a little better quality. So I'm going to run a few watercolor annotated plans later on. Now, I'm looking at this and I'm just calling it freehand perspective, but I will use a ruler to make sure that I don't overstep my horizon line. And I'm going to put the horizon just about there and make sure that it's just about at the same point on this side. And I do that with just a tiny little line. I don't want to draw lines across this paper. I want to just use my creative eye just to say this is where it's going to be. So I'm going to give a little slight indication of the horizon line as it would flow through here. All right. Not drawing it darkly because I'm using a 2B actually, and the pencil itself can leave a scar or a point that will be hard to erase later on, and I want to be very careful of that. All right, as we move through this drawing, I'm going to start with saying the little house that we've already thought about on the other sketch is going to be somewhere over here. So I'm going to make that line of that corner of the house just like that, and the one over here on this side and over here. Now I'm thinking about freehand perspective and giving it my own creative line, not putting any guidelines. I'm just going to look at it and make that determination. And the roof kind of like this. And it's my mind's eye that will be able to establish this drawing. All right. And already I'm remembering that there was a wonderful water wheel that I really wanted to draw. And I had some thoughts about that early on, and it's going to be kind of in this area here. All right. And there's an overhang of a roof this way, kind of a protection to the water wheel. And I'm just very lightly sketching in my thoughts. And of course, there's a little window over here. And this is going to be all done in stonework. So all of this area can be quickly rendered later on. And on this side, I'm going to say, all right, we're going to have a waterfall flowing down. And the bottom of the wheel is going to be in this water like this. The line of the waterfall will be coming off of a slope here, and there's going to be some trees behind the house that will show lost and found edge, and probably a stone wall that will come this way, kind of like this. And it will hold the river in on that side. Over here, it's going to show the perspective line going back up to here. You notice it's a very light sketch, but it will gradually increase in depth of value as I'm very certain of where the lines are. And I'll go back over that in just a minute. But we have the landform here, and I want to place just a rather important tree in this area here. And I'm not sure what that's going to look like yet, but we'll soon find out. Going back into the little house, I'm sure that this line is going to be accurate and that the roof itself is going to have shingling. And so it will be laid in like this, and there may be some various places where it is distressed, opportunity for several different colors. And I'm going to decide right now what color plan I'm going to use. I'm not sure. I love the thought of the Velasquez palette because it presents an opportunity for a lot of serious thinking. And you could use the burnt sienna, which is just so rich and wonderful for these little cabins out in the woods. The burnt sienna, and you can mingle that with the yellow ochre, which will work beautifully for the sunlight coming through. Those two together create kind of an orange that can also be used highlighting the side of this building. However, my thoughts are, I want a little bit more opportunity in the areas of blues, and because of the water, so I don't want to completely limit myself to a Velasquez palette, which would only be yellow ochre, burnt sienna, and maybe French ultramarine. And of course, I could get the greens with that. And thinking about the various blues, and I really think what I might do is extend the Velasquez palette to include 2 or 3 different blues, like the Prussian, like the cerulean, which are so wonderful. And then I'm beginning to draw some of the stonework on the side of the building, remembering that the stones are all different shapes and all different sizes. And so this side of the building will be created, and then there will be a little bit of shade. The edge of this building here is very important because that is where the stonework has connected. And so that edge is really important in its construction of the building, and you want to see that this side will drop into shade. And as we progress in the drawing of the stonework, you can add the shadows like this under the eave. And remembering this is the shade side of the building, so it will gradually go from dark under the eave down to a very light, just a little light shade down here at the bottom. And because this is out in the woods, we might even have a few straggly trees in this area too. And I want to see how that works as the drawing or the painting progresses. This will be an annotated watercolor, probably with an additional adding of 1 or 2 blues, but mostly the yellow ochre, the burnt sienna, and that will develop it. The water wheel itself is important that you look at maybe photographs of actual water wheels so you know what they really are like. I remember something of this, and I'm just going to indicate these little paddles that are like this. Doesn't have to be too exact, but it does have to have some accuracy. So the inside of this wheel is going to be shown here, and then that will be in shade like that. And then there'll be crossbars like this, and remember the center of this wheel is going to be towards the other side, so it'll be kind of like that. And again, this is pencil, so it can still be erased before you put the watercolor on. The front of this building is going to be stonework and stonework. Originally, I wanted to do a log cabin, but I don't believe they use log cabins with water wheels, mostly because of the rotting of the wood. So these are very old, and to make them last 100 years, they had to be stone. All right, so now we have the bottom of this wheel in the water, creating the energy as the wheel turns. Kind of a neat concept, how they got their energy from the water. And it flows this way from the waterfall up here, which may end up being hidden in the rocks. So now we have a little wall that extends this way, and it will be stone, and it will protect the terrain from the water that flows through here. And this will develop later. It'll be reflected light and reflected building into the water, which will be real nice. And I think that'll be a lot of fun. And again, I don't know the tree I've decided on yet, but I do know that behind here and way up here will probably be an indication of a snow-capped mountain. And so maybe this might even be a snow scene eventually. So I'm going to stop with session number 1 and come back to this.